Well, 6th grade, this is your Project 37 for art. The only thing you're required to do is the sketching part, although if you wanted to color it afterwards, that would be perfectly fine. You'll be doing it on this particular thing using these groups here, although I believe, I'm trying to remember, I guess there is no, let me see. No, yeah, so it's this one being transferred to here, but to give you a little bit of a chance to actually practice on this one with the bear here. And what you're using these grid lines to kind of identify where everything is. Now it's easier when they're the same size because you can do things in that grid basically at the exact same place. The difficulty is going from a small thing to a large thing. Now, I'll give you the option. These are basically, what they've done is they've broken these down so that they're in different places. So all you're looking at is that grid. And so, by the way, you can take any picture, and artists do this. They'll take a picture that they have, they'll print it out on a piece of paper, and they'll actually draw grid lines to help them to be able to draw it and sketch it in a little bit better way. And that's actually in the competition that they do for NWACS. You can actually do that in order to make your sketch for competition. You can actually do that particular practice. There's nothing wrong with doing that. So I'll start doing the bear here, and I'm looking, and I've got my line for the tree is, or for the grid is right there. So you see I've already done that outside line. They've done that little line here, and so I'm gonna try to add a little bit. Now it probably needs something a little bit thinner. Sharpen your pencil would be good. This is a sketching, these are sketching pencils that I have here that I bought at the kit from Costco several years ago now. And so I'm looking at basically continuing the lines here. Now you don't have to necessarily make it exactly like it is, but it certainly does help. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the middle. You can see this is about halfway between. Now, of course, where you put something in that particular sketch, it's going to make a difference as to where everything is on the rest of the picture, because they have to connect to each other. And so here you have the bear, and you see his head stops here where the tree is. So we get to the other side, and about right here, and start drawing his head, and it comes to about this point, so I'm going to round his ears. Now I can always go back and you know, fix things if they're not exactly right. That's a little bit more pointy, I think, than what the ear is, and so that's probably a little bit better. And then of course, you know, you're going to be doing shading and different things like that. So it looks like he comes right up to this point. I mean, I could shade this in now if I wanted to, or I can do it later. See how it's lighter up on top and a little bit darker on the bottom. There's that little line there. All right, and so I know I've got that, so I know now my tree comes in right where the bear's head is. Now, something I can see already I've made a mistake on, and that is that this line actually came out a little further, because the angle of the tree should be the same angle as what I have here, and so I'm going to do that. See what I can, you know, just play with it to fix it a little bit. All right, and then I'm going to bring that, continue to bring that down. Now you notice that in this one, about right here is where the bear's arm comes across. Now, let's do this. Let's continue his face, his head, down this way to sort of get a perspective of where his nose is going to be. So now, as I said, it's a little bit easier when you're doing it this way, because it gives you a little bit more it's easier to see from size to size. You know, it's the same thing. And so I have that, and then I have, of course, coming across his chin, about right here, I guess, his paw and his arm. So the arm is going to come across and end right here about, as it, you know, dips down. And of course you got his ear here, and it comes in, and a little bit of shade there, and you see his back goes down this way. So you're trying to match it up as well as possible. We can add the little hairs on each one of these. Looks like we've got the bottom of his arm here, and continues on here. For those of you that have done any kind of art study, you probably have a little bit better understanding, more than I do, of all these things, but you're just trying to copy basically what's there. And when you do that to do a drawing like this, or to do a painting, because you'll do a sketch before you would do a painting, it's a similar type of idea. And looks like I messed up a little bit on that, so it should be continuing straight that way. See, all right, so if you look at the 6 here, where I am, where it crosses, and here I crossed in a different place. So I'm going to go back and erase that a little bit and make it a little bit more of an angle. Now it should give me a little bit better perspective as to where that back goes, because it does that and then it sort of bulges out again. Alright, and so yeah, you can see he's starting to take shape now. It's his back part of him right here kind of follows a curve, and it comes down here. Looks like about the same distance. It's pretty close anyway. And comes down to the bottom, and then of course it curls in and then comes down to where his tail is. And so you can get a good bit of an outline now. You're starting to see some things. The tree, I'm just going to continue this tree on down here, because you can see it's on the inside. Now it looks more like he's holding on to a tree, which of course he is, in the picture anyway. And we bring that up around here. It's coming up to about this space. So you're coming up to about right here, where his tail is. Okay, a little bit different. In fact, I might scooch this in a little bit. Erase that part there. And gets a little bit better perspective. We can even add that tree branch that comes out from over there. Come across the bottom there. Of course, no stick is perfect, no tree branch is perfect, and so if it's a little bit, I think they have this shaded a little bit, but it's always going to be different thicknesses. You can see the shade of it now, and then now here's a little bit. His belly here comes, and it's going to pass that tree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually finish the tree down here. Try to get it to where it's pretty straight, and then I can see here it actually stays fairly close, much closer than what I have it, but since I've already started it, I'm not going to worry about that too much. Now what I will do is when I put this branch in here, which starts on the other side, I'll probably just start it more like in here, and make it a little bit more pronounced angle, and then to come down this way. Obviously this is a pine. You can tell by the little branch things that are there, and so notice that one of the things that they use or they show here is two things. Number one, the branches should get thinner as they go out, generally speaking, because on the ends is where it's always thinnest anyway. This I can fix later right now. And we take, but where the branches meet the picture, or meet the tree, just they have these circular lines, because that it really does work that way, believe it or not, if you look at a tree. Now I'm going to finish on this side. Okay, and so not too far off, but it's not perfect either. Rushing through this a little bit. So there we have his eyeball, and then his other eye, which is pretty dark and leaves a little bit of a glint there in the middle, which I neglected to do. This is a little bit hard when you're trying to, I think I made that too big. It looks like a panda now. Okay, so we'll leave a little bit of a white glint from the light. You know, that one's it's a little big there. Maybe not. Maybe it's just right. And so, you know, of course he has eyebrows there, and we have his nose. You can see the, you know, it gives a little bit of depth there to his nose. A little bit of freckles we have there. His nose is probably a little bit darker, especially on the end. So he's starting to come into shape here. You can see his. See, now you see how when I filled that in, it sort of took away a little bit. And this, I think his arms, he appears a little bit closer than that. So I'll probably make his shoulder kind of right there. And then, you know, you just play with it, do a little bit. All right, so this is your practice drawing, okay? Now, your actual drawing, which will come in the let's see here, I'm going to shade his underside here, a little bit of his belly as well. But when you get to the actual drawing, the one that we're supposed to do, this one, all right? Now, if you want to do the bear on this from here, that's fine, if you want to do that. They made it a little easier because all these squares are the same size. And so I would start with a square or a rectangle that actually has something right on the edge, a lot on the edge. This one right here might be good. That's showing, looks like it's going to be lightning. You've got a couple here, but number one, it's sort of only a couple things here. You can see where it attaches to number two, which is right here. These branches and things. You could do that one, that would work, but I would even start with number two possibly. And so now these are very thick lines. I might change to a little bit thicker pencil if you have one. These are, this one is a 6B, which is pretty thick. And so if I start on this one, then on number two, so I'm going to, I like pulling. Pulling makes it so much easier. So if I have my number two here, in fact, one thing I can do, just to get it closer, is to show it right here. And so I'm going to sort of, freehand this. All right, and I'm looking about, you know, distance here of where things are so that I can make sure that I'm not getting too far off, because once I get to this one, number 3, which is this one here, I've got to be able to match up with what I have there. And so I'm just doing the branch part right here right now. Look, this is a branch of a tree, it looks like. And so I can see that where it comes up here, then I've got this, and it's about that same distance, it seems to me, you know, where it hits, and maybe it needs to be a little bit further over. And so eraser is your friend. And so you're going to bring it maybe a little bit over, and then up, so we can do this little sort of rounded W, sort of a strange looking W type of shape. All right, doesn't look too bad. And I'm going to bring this around. This sort of shapes the branch. You can see the branch basically is going up into this. So it shapes it, brings it back around to here. And I'm going to draw this out. And you can see the looking at distance and seeing where that is, and this is about right, looks like. Okay, so maybe I want to come to here for my thing, and then I've got this round, probably a pocket of light is what it is more than anything. All right, and so then I've got this separated. Now I can, if I look here where this is here, comparing it to where it is here, you can see it's a little bit below where that one is. So I look here, come over here where this would be the same, so it's going to be a little bit below. So I'll start with that part right there. And again, pulling is always so much easier to pull, so that you can have more control over what you're drawing. Now started looking at the wrong square. So I start coming down and coming back up, and then again. Now eventually I'm going to meet up about the same as where this is for my final loop there. And I try to make this one is a little bit more straight up. It doesn't curl back in so much, but it is thick, so I'm going to thicken this a little bit. And it's not bad to, by the way, to first get it in the right shape, and then you can get it, once you get it to the right shape, then you can thicken